And so now it's time to check in on how our planet's going. It's been a couple of hours. Here we go, dial 7. As we can see, it's halfway through its cycle, so it's been going for 3 hours. Our T1 has got a production cycle, and it's got a full input route. So it'll just roll on through. Same here. Now if you look at our storage, as you can see we've got 100 oxygen, that's our T1. 100 biomass, also our T1. But we've also got resources or backlog of noble gas and plankton colonies. Of course, what this means is that even if the extractors finish their cycle and don't extract anything else, our two T1s can still continue feeding off this backlog to carry on producing, which is ideally what you want. You want to have some sort of backlog sitting in your storage so that even if you're not attending to the extractors, there's still something there for the T1s to actually draw from. So in our scenario here, this was at Command Center Upgrade 2. At this point, you get the alert message that Command Center Upgrade 3 has finally finished. And so, you go back to your planet. The first thing you want to do is upgrade your command center. This can be done remotely. You don't need to be in the system. You don't even need to be at the planet. Just go in, click on your upgrade, and you will have another grey box that's available. The other two will still have hash lines on it, crossed out, but you can select that. As you can see, we've got another 3,000 megawatts, and another 5,000 teraflops of CPU. So you hit upgrade, and as before, edits pending. Submit. We now have a lot more to play with. And at this point, because in storage we've got our tier 1s that the tier 2 will want to use, we'll put down our tier 2 facility and one other. If we go back to build, the one other we want is the launch pad. This is an important one because the launch pad is also considered storage, but means we can get up to 10,000 cubic meters off the planet easily without having to deal with expedited transfers between storage and command center, sending up the command center, launch, and so on. I will cover command center launches later, but bear in mind it's not the most efficient way to get things off the planet. Ideally, you want a command center, and of course we want our tier 2 to turn our tier 1 products into our hypertensile plastics. So let's begin. First, basic is your T1, only does tier 1. Your advanced, however, is what does your tier 2 and tier 3. At this point, we only want tier 2. So click on it, and we'll place it here. As per normal, edits pending, submit, and link it. Create new, and that is also linking back to your storage, not your command center, of course. back to your storage. Remember, everything links, with the exception of that. Everything goes to storage, to your center from storage. This, however, will be the exception because it's the end of our production chain. And since it's the end of our production chain, we can send that to its final destination without impacting on how our tier 1 or our extractors go. So let's have a look at our advanced. Here's everything we can make. Of course, there's nothing in there. We haven't put in a schematic. There's no input. We don't know where to get it from. It's not producing anything. And we want super tensile plastics. So we install our schematic. Again, it wants to know where it's going to send it. At this point, we're not going to send it anywhere. We'll deal with that in a second. Submit to get it underway. Then go to your storage. And as we have biomass and oxygen, which are feedstock, we don't need to go through to routes to actually do it. We can just go biomass, create route to our tier 2. As you can see, it wants 40 at a time. Create. You can do everything at once, but so we've got one going through. And if you look here, you'll see biomass is dropped by 40 because it can immediately feed off that. Same with oxygen. Create to T2, create route, submit. Now it's still flashing red because we haven't told it where we're going to send it. As you can see, it's now in production. It's now got its units all queued up. And if we look here, we're now down to 20 of each. So once the input routes are set up, it took 40 for the current production run, and it queued up 40 for the next run, which will keep it going. Next, we want a launch pad. So there looks good enough. Submit. And as normal, link it. You can link it to here, or you can link it direct to your tier 2. As the tier 2 is the end of the production chain, we want to send all its products straight through to the launch pad. We don't need to send it through to storage, so we'll send it all straight through, link it straight through to the launch pad. No, in fact we won't. We'll link that all the way back through to here as well. Submit. Now we can take care of our products. Super tensile, because it's not doing a lot per hour, it's not going to throttle the links. So I want to create a route through to there, create, and submit. As you can see, this is now yellow and happy. And if you hover over that, it's hard to see, but you can see the orange lines behind it showing the routing. If we look at this, go back to our routes. As you'll see, we've now got our transiting type, which means it's transiting from there to there without stopping. It's either an incoming or an outgoing. So that will now just trundle along and will be quite happily starting to put its output through here into the launch pad. As I said, it's only the last step in the manufacturing chain that you send to its final destination. Everything else goes from here to storage, to here to storage, to here to final destination. And as we have some backed up, but notice we also have 9,000 plankton colonies, 4,000 noble gas. That's enough for basically 2 complete runs of the T1, and we're getting close to 2 complete runs of the other T1. Which means when those stop, they will still be able to keep going for a little while longer. They will still have full input to match up with their production. So it just keeps things rolling along quite a bit better than if you were directly routing. Which is, as I said, you don't really want to do. As you can see, we now have more power and CPU to play with. So once our extractors are finished, at that point, we'll be able to add additional extractor heads to extract more, which will build up more backlog, which can feed those more, which means that one just keep on feeding a lot easier. And as you can see, I did all of this while sitting on the station. You do have to upgrade this manually by just going to your planet, doing the upgrade. You don't need to actually be there. You can be several jumps away and do that quite happily. Now, as I said, I will cover launches from your command center later. But if you've got a launch pad, it makes things a lot easier because you've got a lot more space. So you can let this whole complex keep rolling along, build up more and more resources until you are ready to actually pick it up. And 10,000 is going to take a while to build up. So it becomes a lot more hands-off at this point. All you really need to do is come in, check your extractors, make sure they're running along, and then just let it do its thing.